I love printing money, and I print money day in, day out, even when I sleep. And I want to share with you how I do that and how you can do that too, most importantly, because there is one business model that is literally printing money for you, whether you sleep, whether you travel, whatever you decide to do, you are printing money. So let's dive in right away. When I started this type of business, I genuinely, I didn't even know it existed to start with. I stumbled into this whole thing by accident. I didn't have any entrepreneurial experience. It was 12 years ago. I was living in London. I was working as an English teacher. And, I was trying to be a theater director at the time. But it so happened, and it sort of escalated and grew from there, that I did create a money printing machine. And the way I did it was that instead of thinking that I needed to set up a business, that I needed to, have this glamorous entrepreneurial life, none of that was on my mind at all. What happened very simply, and I'm going to get to the business model in a minute. What happened very simply was that as I was working at these private schools, teaching English literature and whatever, a lot of people started approaching me and they said, we just moved to England, can you teach us English? And English is not my native tongue. So for me, it is easy to teach it because I know how I learned it and I know how to teach it. And I think it's the easiest thing ever. So back then, I agreed and I started giving value, right? Like what these people wanted was to learn the language. I was there, I had the skill, I did it, I sold my time. And then at one point I realized that, this is not quite sustainable, and I wanted to move to Bali, to Indonesia. And I decided to move there, and I told all my clients at the time that I was moving. And this is where the business began, because all of them said to me, can you teach us online? Well, I was like, sure. And it was 2013. There were not that many platforms. I think Zoom didn't exist then. I mean, that's that ancient. The only medium I think at the time was Skype. So I was like, okay, we can have, all these Skype classes. So the business starts. And this is where I laid the foundation for the money printing business. So what is a money printing business? How did I build it up? And how you can do that? So I always think of that model as a community-driven model or membership model. So essentially, think of Netflix, think of Spotify, think of any platform where you subscribe and you pay a monthly fee. Now, for a lot of us mere mortals, to code and build a platform is not that easy. I mean, if it is easy for you, if you're a code developer, be my guest. This video works for you as well. But I didn't have the tech knowledge, and I didn't have the skills to build a SaaS product. A SaaS product would have been, one of the things that I sort of mentioned, like a software product, right? So I couldn't do that. So I decided to sell what I know in a subscription format. And this is where I want you to start thinking. What do you know that you can start selling in the way of thinking about it of Netflix? What things do you know that you can sell like Netflix sells movies, like Spotify allows you to listen to music? What can you talk about, teach, that people would want to be learning from you on a regular basis and paying you a nominal sum of money, whether it's $9, $20, $30, all the way up to a couple of hundred. I'm a big fan of keeping it also quite cheap, and I'll explain to you why. So going back to my story, what happened was, so I moved to Bali. I sort of started living there. I continued teaching online, one-to-one. No inventions there really. But what happened at one point was that I got very busy with other projects. I got hired by multiple companies to create stories for them, write for them, interview their clients, fly around the world, and do all sorts of glamorous things that I really enjoyed. And I couldn't keep up my commitments to my students, so I had to quit the whole thing, right? But I was like, I can't quit. I can't stop doing what I'm doing. And my students are loving, what I'm sharing. So I created this membership platform. So I simply had people following me, being part of my small, very, very, very small following. And when I say small, I mean really small. But I had a pool of people, right? And then I could immediately think about signing them all up for, to my membership. Now, how can you do that too? Can you start with, as I said a minute ago, by identifying what you know and what would be of value to other people? It can be swimming, it can be knitting, it can be, training dogs, it can be holistic medicine, any topic. Pick any topic that is really of your interest. And then build momentum around it. That's step number 2, start building momentum around it. So in my case, I was not only posting about it because I had services teaching English at the time, but also I was doing it, right? Like I was selling it one-to-one. I was then doing small groups. So I built momentum around that topic and around me being the expert in that field. So once that happened, I was able to gauge that sort of interest that with the people that I had, and then invite them to the membership. So out of that small pool of people that I had, I would say around 20 or 30 people joined. And this is what you call in this membership world founding members. So they became my first founding members. And what you want to do with those first 5, 10, 20 people, you want to talk to them and you want to create what they are needing the most. If it's a training app, if it's a fitness app, if you're a fitness coach, talk to people exactly what type of products, programs they need, what type of trainings they need, how are you delivering them? Is it, do you have to do like live sessions, or should it be sort of short pre-recorded videos? Would it be just quick, 2-minute breakdowns of the workouts that people have to follow? There are so many ways to go about it. So you want to define that. You want to define, whilst working with your founding members, how you are, going to continue building this whole membership platform. But what is happening there, because you're here at the very beginning, right? Like you identified what you know and what you can sell. You started building momentum around it. You signed up the first 5, 10, 20 people, which is brilliant. And then you start building the actual personal Netflix of yours based on the feedback, based on the people that are already in the membership, and based on what they are telling you to do, right? So you're not just inventing or fantasizing that your clients may need, this or that. You are asking questions. You're talking to your founding members. And this is what I did. And as I was talking to them, I was starting to build out the entire learning platform. So 6 months later, I continued working with other companies, but I quit teaching one-to-one. I quit the whole thing. And it's been 9 years, or 8 years since I did that. And since I productized my time and I created this membership. We're going to talk about how to grow it in a second. But I want to just draw your attention to the money printing aspect, because that's the premise of the video. Money printing sounds very appealing, and how to think about it, and why is it money printing overall, right? Like, how do you print money? So just think of you having subscribed to Netflix or Hulu or whichever platform you're subscribing to, right? They sold you the membership once, but then you gave them the right to charge you time and time and time again, month after month, year after year. Well, you may have to update your card if it expires, but overall you had given them the permission unless you cancel it. And I was really fascinated by it, because I thought to myself when I started doing it that my maths were pretty simple at the time. I thought, okay, well, if I had 100 people paying me $20, that's $2,000. Now, for some it is not a lot of money, for some it is a lot of money, for some people it would be a nice addition, to their income from their full-time job. For others, it's enough to sustain their life. But I thought, well, 2,000 would cover me quite well in Bali, and it was 80 years ago. I thought, well, that amount of money is enough, right? Like to have all the the necessities covered, the rent and the food, and you have so much freedom then. And then I was very lured by that idea. And then I went with it. I was like, okay, well, then my goal is to get the first 200 people. And I did. And then whether I worked or I didn't work, whether I took a holiday or I didn't take a holiday, I was making money. When I slept, I was making money. I'd wake up in the morning and you'd have like 10 charges, and you'd have 10 people having paid their subscription. And that moment when this happened, when I started getting traction, I realized that it is a real money printing machine. And I'm not claiming to be this sort of internet business guru who tells you like how to make like endless amounts of money. I'm talking in very realistic terms, because for most people, and according to even studies out there, we don't need that much in order to be satisfied and to be happy and to have our most of our needs met. For some, and depending where you live in the world, right? But to make an extra 2K or to make 5K or to make 10K a month, for most people on average, that's a lot of money, right? That's enough. And that's what I'm about. Like, how can you set up this money printing machine, this money printing press for yourself? Then whatever is happening in the world, you have this setup, this organization, this ATM that's printing money for you. And when I got that sort of done with my founding members, when we scaled to the first 200 members, I started working out the way to grow it. Now, I could have stayed at that level, I could have chosen that, but I wanted to grow the whole thing. And I just wanted to test its limits, and I loved printing money. And I continued, working for other companies, I continued doing other things. So for me, this was just a game, right? And then, so I hired the first virtual assistant, and then I got a bit of team to help me. And then by the time I knew, we had grown to over, 2,000 subscribers. And by that point, again, it's not something that necessarily would, allow you this extreme luxury lifestyle if you're after it. It may not buy you Ferraris. It can, but you'd have to save up. So it's not, we're not talking crazy amounts of money, but we're talking quite a lot in order to support your lifestyle, right? So once that was set up, I really thought that it is this money printing machine. So going back to you, my friend, watching this video. So once you got your first 20, 30 people in your membership, and you have talked to them and you started growing, right? And say you build up your membership to 500 people, teaching them, I don't know, the best fishing techniques or something, or knitting techniques, or a language, or some rare language that or maybe Japanese calligraphy, whatever that is, right? And then you want to grow it, and you want to, in addition to charging your folks, in addition to charging them $20, $30, $100 a month, you may want to introduce bigger products, right? So this is where I want you to think about creating supplement products, offers to your community. When I say supplement, I don't mean medical supplements. I mean supplementary products. So basically anything that your community, that your tribe would want. So in my case, what we did, we started creating audiobooks because we hadn't done any audio products, and people wanted to be practicing their vocabulary and pronunciation and so forth. So we started putting together lots of audiobooks, and it wasn't like a $9 audiobook. We charged $60, $80, $100 for that audiobook. Why and how? Because we had the community of buyers, the tribe of buyers that were invested, that loved us, that believed in us. And for them to buy that audiobook meant more than just buying an audiobook. It meant belonging to this community, right? They wanted to continue being engaged and to be learning together with their peers in the group. So adding these additional products and offers, whether it's it may be one-to-one then work, or coaching or mentoring. It may be a done-for-you service. It may be an audio guide. It may be a PDF, whatever that is, right? And you can charge for those additional products anything that you feel is appropriate for your audience. Anything from $1,000 to $20,000 or more, or less, up to you, right? But these additional products then added into your community, into your ecosystem, and really boost your revenue that you're generating out of your tribe, out of your membership. So this is the second layer that I just covered. So you have your membership as the foundation of money printing machine, of the money printing press. And the second layer, which is monthly payments, right, from your customers. And the second layer is the custom products that you create and then you sell to your following, to your members. There are multiple other things that you can do there. But this is it in principle. And it is extraordinary what you can do with that. Because you'll find yourself having built a community of, a couple of hundred people, 1,000 people, 2,000 people, 5,000, 10,000 people who love you and adore you and love your work and want to be part of whatever else you create. And you can use that whole ecosystem to either be engaged entrepreneurially and creatively yourself, be creating products, or you can be hiring other people to deliver those products, which I've done. You can be using the profits or the capital from the membership to either bankroll your lifestyle, or to buy a house, or to set up a new business, which again was something that I did. I started using some of the capital and using that capital to invest in a new team, hiring talent, consultancy, advisors to build up a new gig, right? So it is quite interesting how a lot of people don't get this, because I think when you read more about memberships, there's not that much online. I mean, people do talk about it, they do say it's a good thing, but the caveat is that it does take a long time to build it. It's true, there's that caveat. But the thing is that if you do it right, if you do invest your time, you do build up a money printing machine. And who doesn't want one in their lives, right? So now when I look back at what I've done and the membership that I built, and I have like 4 memberships now, some very small, some fairly sizable. What that does to me as a business owner and as a human being, it gives me freedom. That's the most important thing. That's my keyword, freedom. It gives me freedom to live my life the way I want it to I want to live it, because I really feel that we have this one life, right? And it's such a shame to waste it doing things that you hate. So, that buys me the freedom, but then also that buys me the ability to invest in other projects and ideas and to be creative. It buys me the opportunity and the ability to hire people that I like to help me build the business. And at the end of the day, it helps me and allows me to go on holiday very, very regularly and take time off, be on a tropical beach somewhere, or I don't know, climbing some mountains somewhere, and really enjoy life, because I'm not tied by the limitations of a salary. So I would really encourage you to think, how can you start building your own money printing machine today? And if you want more information about how I've done it and the best advice on how to do it, here are more videos coming up on your screen that I've recorded in the past. I'll see you in the next video.